How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we're going over the Jack Spencer Workhorse CFO interview. We're going to go through some really important questions that were answered that were on what we're using the new $260 million for, what we're doing with deliveries, what can we expect going forward, when will we have the prototype of the refrigeration unit, and even more. So if you guys like this, please leave a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Also, check out the link down below to WeBull. You can get 3 free stocks worth up to $1,600 each. And then if you refer someone else, I believe they're giving away 6 free stocks. So they're doing this just for 2 more days. So definitely check that out because it's going to be gone soon. They're going to give, I believe, 1 stock again, unless they increase the timeline again. But definitely check that out. So Jack just went through his 3rd interview with the CFO, I believe. And there are some really important things that they hit on that we've been asking as Workhorse investors. So I'm going to go through some of the highlights of the video. Definitely check out Jack's page if you want to see the longer version where he has about an 18-minute interview. So it's jam-packed with a lot of good stuff. Definitely go check it out. But let's get into it here.
And so, Steve, when we were just briefly chatting before the cameras went on, you told me we may have a statement from somebody from Pritchard, if you would like to share what that is all about.
Yeah, so I think everybody saw that we had a 500 unit order from Pritchard. And I think Ryan Pritchard actually in particular has also seen some of Jack's videos. And I think he had made a comment. I think, Jack, you made a comment about 500. You know, they do 30,000 that they sell a year. It looks like they could do more than that. So Ryan actually gave me a comment on that. And I asked him for a little bit more details. I think everybody probably saw on the press release there. Based in Iowa, private company, been around 4 or 5 generations. They sell 30,000 vehicles a year, medium duty. And so maybe not as well known, probably based in Iowa, but here's what Ryan said about Jack's comment, I think. He said, Jack is already, I'm going to read it if that's okay.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Jack is already onto our strategy, which makes it even easier to share. First, he's spot on about our dealer group. 500 is a small number for our network, let alone the new prospects we've been inquiring. We're not wasting any time with 5 on-ground units, putting them on a roadshow starting in December to feature trucks in Los Angeles, New York, and Minneapolis. The remaining units have already been claimed by 2 blue-chip customers for an extended testing cycle. We're building a backlog of orders, and we haven't begun our digital rollout yet. He says we've seen a lot of different EV commercial applications, which is why we tested the first 5 units, and we placed an order for another 500. We love the product, and the response has been overwhelming. Many more big things to come. So I think you're right.
So that is very good news. That was from one of the owners or one of the people that ran Pritchard Company, which is the company that is buying 500 Workhorse vehicles. So they originally bought 5 and then they bought 500. We talked about that after their Q3 earnings. That is a very good sign. I mean, that is a pretty big order, honestly, for a Workhorse at $50,000 a pop. That is a sizable amount of revenue, about $25 million. And, you know, they're a company that rents out to other companies. So it's kind of free advertising for Workhorse.
Okay, so I have to speak to you about cash, because obviously we've been bringing in a bit of cash as of late. So as of now, about 260 million of cash on the balance sheet. I remember last time I got this extraordinarily wrong by a decimal place. So where can we expect that cash to be going over the next, let's say, year or so?
Yeah, so we have 260 million. I think several things. You know, one, obviously, it'll help with the ramp up of the production next year and meeting that 1,800 goal. 2, it will help develop new products. You know, the refrigeration unit, and we also talked about maybe a Class 2 vehicle that would be kind of maybe a direct. Right now our C450 and C650 can compete with like the Mercedes Sprinters, Ford Transits, but we actually could build a Class 2 vehicle very similar to those two as well. That would compete with maybe the E-Transit that they just talked about, Ford. Yeah. And I think thirdly, the drone operations. I think you're trying to get FAA clearance for that. That'll take about 18 plus months. So that'll take time to spend money and do all that testing as well. So I think it can be used in all those areas.
So that was just going over the new cash infusion and how they're going to use that. I really like his answer there. I mean, obviously, we need more deliveries. They only delivered a few vehicles last quarter, and we were expecting a lot more. So that is the main thing that they have to focus on. And later in the interview, he talks about that. He talks about how that's really what they have to overcome as a business. But then they are also putting some money towards research and development for the new refrigeration vehicle and for the drones. And he's saying even maybe a class 2 vehicle, which could compete with that e-transit that we talked about just yesterday. I have a video that I'll show on the end screen, but I talked about that a little bit in that video. It is more of a van than one of these, last mile delivery vehicles that's more like a typical USPS truck or something like that. So that is a pretty good answer. That makes me feel good as an investor in Workhorse.
On that topic, in regards to refrigeration, because I've been getting asked so much about this as of late. Is there any sort of timeline that you can give, even a very rough timeline of when we could potentially see a prototype or even a major update on the refrigeration?
Well, I think we're starting on the R&D aspect of it now. Our hope is that maybe we could do a pilot with somebody maybe by April.
Oh, very exciting.
And that'll be the start. We've certainly had different customers ask about pilots and can they get a look at it. So I think that would at least be the target as we sit here today.
Okay, cool. So I'll go with the plan. Hopefully by April or so of next year we could see something. We could have cold goods in the back of a Workhorse truck.
That'd be the ideal.
That's the idea.
So that is also something to look forward to. In about 5-6 months, we should be able to hear about a prototype, maybe see a prototype for the refrigeration vehicle. And then this is the final question that I think is really important too.
That's perfect. And I suppose a lot of people are going to get upset if I don't answer this question. It's in regards to, we can't hit the 300, we're not going to hit the 300 to 400 by the end of the year due to, COVID, etc., etc. A lot of people are asking if there is an update or if there is something we can expect, or if we're just going to have to wait and see how the next few months go, especially with what's happened with you guys in COVID.
Oh, I think you have to just wait. I think from our standpoint, there will be some delivery of trucks, but it'll be substantially lower than the 300 to 400.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of had not a perfect storm to some extent, but we weren't intending in the first place on October 1 to start doing 5 a day. That was really getting sub-assemblies ready to go and get the trucks that you start 1 a day, then 2 a day, and hopefully we'd ramp up to 8 a day or so towards the end and have the average of 5 a day.
Okay.
But, we were just kind of getting the sub-assembly started, and then we had our battery manufacturer that basically said, we can't hit that 300 to 400. Right away, that would have lowered guidance, let alone right after that, every day we started getting more and more cases of COVID. Either they were positive or people had to stay home. And they were almost all production-related workers. And probably when we brought on 30 to 40 production workers to kind of do be the first shift,
yeah.
I'm sure that might have hurt, it's to cause the whole situation in the first place. But I will say I haven't heard this week any new cases being added to it. For a 2-week time period, it was like every single day we have a new case.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't heard this week that we haven't had any new ones. So maybe that's a start of kind of it's tapering off, and the people that were out, 36% of our workforce will start coming back, and we can kind of get going again. But the expectation shouldn't be high for the fourth quarter. We're trying to put our energy in the first quarter of 2021 and really kind of get started this time. And unfortunately, it's a delay for us, and we're disappointed just as well. But we're focused on the 1800 for next year.
So kind of a mixed bag there. I would like to hear him say that we're trying to push in Q4 for better numbers, but I also understand because they only made a few vehicles last quarter and they are still getting over all those new cases. So the fact that they had 36% of their workforce out is a pretty significant number there. But hopefully, with what he said there, that they don't have many new cases, hopefully that will help us going into Q4, pick up some steam for Q1 and Q2 and Q3 and so on. So I think that was a pretty good interview. Steve seemed like he was a little bit more excited than maybe that last interview that we had covered with him on Benzinga. So he seems a little bit more energized, a little bit better after the Q3 earnings maybe. And I think we have some stuff to look forward to. So I talked about the share price and a little bit in my video yesterday and why I thought the share price was going down. So if you want to see that video, you should definitely check it out. I'll throw it up on the end screen here. And then also thank you for hitting the like button and checking out WeBull. But otherwise, I'll just see you right here.